I'm going to begin today, once again, on the glaring spotlight Florida Governor Ron DeSantis put on the wide-open southern border and the damage it is doing to the cities and states across this nation, but more importantly, the damage it is doing to the real people. The people that are dying to get here and the people that are getting killed when some of them do. The price being paid on all sides of the border crisis is high, very high, in fact, too high. More than 2 million illegals have been arrested already this year, and the numbers of those flooding over the border is not slowing down, not one bit. The invasion comes with death and destruction in those places. In a bold move last week, Ron DeSantis packed 50 Venezuelan illegals onto two small planes and sent them to the playground of the elitist liberals, mostly self-righteous, sanctimonious white liberals, Martha's Vineyard in Massachusetts. And while the left just loves to hear themselves talk about how wonderful they are and how they are in pursuit of social justice against their white supremacist Republican opponents, the move by DeSantis tore that fake veneer clean off. It only took the Islanders about 36 hours to kick the Spanish-speaking brown-skinned folks off the island that's home to James Taylor, Diane Sawyer, Barack Obama, and a host of other far-left fanatics. They claimed that while more than 10,000 summer homes sat empty after Labor Day, they were suffering a housing crisis. A housing crisis with 10,000 empty homes. And they just could not house 50 people who were found homeless on the southern border, wandering and in need of help. Then the elitist socialists started calling Republicans names, singled out Ron DeSantis, some sort of criminal who was cruel by sending the 50 migrants to the playground of the socialist rich and famous. He found time to respond to the insanity of such comments, as you would expect. Yeah, Ron DeSantis keeps pounding on the border crisis and says the ridiculous outrage of 50 illegals in Martha's Vineyard is beyond belief. Listen to this.
So when Biden is flying these people all over the fruited plain in the middle of the night, I didn't hear a peep out of those people, okay? I didn't hear a peep. I haven't heard a peep about all the people that have been told by Biden you can just come in, and they're being abused by the cartels, they're drowning in the Rio Grande. You had 50 that died in some shed in Texas. I heard no outrage about any of that. I haven't heard outrage about all the fentanyl that's come across the border that's killing Americans in record numbers. I don't hear outrage about the criminal aliens that have gotten through and have then victimized people, not only in Florida, but all throughout the country. I didn't hear any outrage about that. The only thing I hear them getting upset about is you have 50 that end up in Martha's Vineyard. Then they get really upset.
The price of those coming across the border is far higher than anyone can even realize right now. Already in 2022, 78 people on the FBI's terror watch list have been arrested trying to illegally enter the country. That is 3 times more than the last 5 years combined. Think about that. The number of those on the terror watch list caught at the southern border, 3 times higher than the last 5 years combined. That's 26 people in the last 5 years, 78 so far this year. That was from 2017 through 2021, a 5-year period. Right? The latest ad from Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is a heart-wrenching story of a young man killed by an illegal alien that had been deported twice before. And this really hits the mark. This is part of the theme. Listen to this.
When our middle son, Brandon, left to go to work, he was only 21 years old. And the last words I said to him is, "I love you." And a twice deported illegal ran into him and hit him so hard that he caused Brandon's car to flip. And he killed him. My child's killed by someone who should not have been here. This is what happens when we have open borders. We were able to go and meet with Governor DeSantis. He said, "I want to hear your son's story," and to see the compassion in his eyes. And I saw the concern. He wanted to make sure other lives were protected. And as a governor, he truly has been upholding the oath that he took, which is to protect Floridians. He not only talks a good talk, but he walks it. He's been very strong on safety. He's been very strong on law and order. He has made our state one of the safest states to be in. There's no greater leader than Governor DeSantis because he didn't just listen. He put action behind it.
But that should never have happened. People are getting killed by people that aren't supposed to be here. And those that are paying with their lives, well, those stories can be found all over America. It's sad, and Joe Biden and his team of social justice warriors don't care one bit about the justice for Americans that are killed and their families that are left to clean up the aftermath. Over the weekend, a 24-year-old sheriff's deputy in Colorado, Alexis Hine-Newts, was on her way to work when an illegal alien driving drunk slammed into her car and killed her on the spot. The suspect had been deported twice before, but was back in the country, no problem. The problem is she's still dead. And when the press yelled out questions to Joe Biden on Tuesday, he said they didn't understand what he was dealing with. You see, the open border, according to his addled brain, is somehow different, because many of those leading the invasion over the border are from different countries, as if that makes any sense at all. Yeah, President Biden is trying desperately to get away from the ongoing conversation about the border, but the Washington press corps, they're not letting it go. And again, he says it's just different than it was before. Listen.
On the border, why is the border more overwhelmed under your watch, Mr. President?
Because there are three countries that are never happened. There are fewer immigrants coming from Central America and from Mexico. This is a totally different circumstance. What's on my watch now is Venezuela, Cuba, and Nicaragua. And the ability to send them back to those states is not rational.
Not rational. To send them back. Not rational to close the border, apparently. Not rational to have security here for America. He's right about one thing. Things are different now, because we've never seen a border so completely wide open as we have since pathetic Joe Biden and his cast of socialists invaded the West Wing. They want this to happen. How else could you explain it? They're making this happen. They're allowing this to happen. Period. We're going to continue with that in a moment. And we'll get it. And we'll get it. Because other things are finally changing too. That's the national news media. Maybe a little bit, maybe not completely being honest, but at least they're inching towards being honest about the southern border, because the southern border is being moved to Martha's Vineyard, to Boston, to Chicago, to Philadelphia, to Washington, D.C., to New York City. The southern border is being moved, and it's being moved by Republican governors. More on that after the break here on The Steve Gruber Show.